And hey guys, hopefully you guys can take, if you're out there, take some time off for the Bruins because Red Sox Life Live is, we're starting our third episode. We're going to talk about the Red Sox finally getting back over 500 for the first time since the beginning of the season, and a lot more. So, and also, be sure to send us your questions on Twitter if you have them. Hashtag RS Live. See it. I have it down below. And so, Ryan, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. Loving the way the Sox are playing. Not loving the way the Bruins are playing right now. But we're here to talk about the Sox, and they're over 500, which almost seemed like it was never going to happen this year. So I'm happy. Boys are playing well. Won a series against Texas after getting one hit the first game out. So they're playing well. I'm happy.
And we also have Jim Monahan on. How are you doing, Jim?
I'm good, Connor. I'd be a lot better if the Mets would put a little bit more of an offensive display up against the Yankees tonight. It's currently 4-2, looks like bottom of the fifth, with Captain Intangibles up. Oh, boy. But unfortunately, Mr. Cologne gave up a grand slam to Brett Gardner earlier, so that's what we're dealing with here.
Uh, I'm sure we'd all be a lot happier if the Mets could come back and beat the Yankees. And how about the Red Sox a little bit?
But I'm with Ryan. I'm happy with the way the team played in Texas. After that debacle in the game one that opened that thing up, they came back with a couple of nice wins. I like seeing them above 500, and I think the team is starting to click.
Yeah.
All right. So, yeah, let's talk about that. What have you guys three things you guys have seen in the last couple weeks that they've been doing well? I'll start with you, Ryan.
John Lackey. John Lackey has been pitching
Yeah.
his butt off. He is pitching fantastically. He pitched last night. I think he went 7 and gave up 2 runs to Texas, and Texas is a tough lineup to get through. I mean, they've got Chew up at the top. They have Prince Fielder in there. They're a deep, deep team, and to have Lackey come in and just absolutely dominate them, it's been really nice. The bullpen's been all right. Koji's been a little bit shaky, but he hasn't really blown anything too badly. So as Jim's mentioned in the past, the arm hasn't started to fall off yet, so that's really nice. And I don't know, third thing, Xander's playing pretty good defense. I like seeing that.
Yeah. All right, Jim. What are your three things that you've been seeing?
Well, I think the starting pitching, let's put Clay Buchholz aside for the time being. The starting pitching has been pretty good. I'm impressed with what Lackey has done, obviously. Peavy's an absolute bulldog. Dubront, a little shaky at times, but I think he's developing into a decent starter. I like the way Koji kind of rebounded. He had that moment where he was very human, and perhaps we got very spoiled in 2013 with just how ridiculously good he was. But his last couple of outings, he's looked extremely good, and you see signs of the offense really starting to come to life. Obviously, we haven't seen much from Middlebrooks yet. Xander's been a little shaky, but you like the way Ortiz is swinging the bat. Pedroia's swinging the bat pretty well. Victorino being back out there on a regular basis has helped things a lot. Napoli, I mean, it's a little early yet, but can you say MVP candidate? So those are some of the positives that I think as we come into the middle of May.
Yeah. So you hit on a good point. Mike Napoli. He's been so far. I think the Red Sox MVP. Still be in the conversation for league MVP at the end of the season? I'll start with you, Ryan.
Mm,
Um, I think he's playing really well. I think we had this conversation at the beginning of the year of,
Yeah,
do we have anybody that's really gonna contend for any end of the season awards? And I'm gonna still go with no. I think that they're a good team. They're a young
yeah,
team.
yeah,
They're rebuilding, but it's more of a team with these guys compared to one guy going out there and winning the Cy Young and another guy going out there and winning the MVP. I think Napoli's playing great. I don't think he's going to have the numbers that Cabrera will have at the end of the year, Mike Trout will have at the end of the year. Um, so I can't see him being a MVP candidate at the end of the year.
All right, Jim, agree with that assessment? Disagree?
Yeah, I think it's going to be hard for Napoli to keep the pace up, to be honest with you. I like him a lot. I think he's a very solid ball player. MVP caliber, I don't know. I wouldn't bet the mortgage on it.
Yeah, yeah, I don't really think so either. You guys nailed it, I thought. And this is a team game, and I think the Red Sox are uh, the Sox are starting to show that again, what like they did last year. And, and just in have you guys seen any things that really concern you? Ben, how are you doing,
Teams
Ben?
that concern me? Um, hey, Ben.
Hey guys,
What's up, Ben?
sorry. What's up?
Not much.
So
We're just talking right now about Napoli, how he's having a great start to the year, and do you think he can keep up numbers and potentially be in the running for candidate for MVP at the end of the year?
Okay, I'll let Jim talk. I know he sounded like he was about to say something.
No, go ahead, Ben. I had actually already made my point about Napoli.
Um, I had written a piece, well, part of the pregame the other day. Sorry, it's dark in my room. And kind of noted how Napoli was actually struggling at the plate for about 10 games. He only had 5 hits in 10 games. But he had gotten on base 14 times via the walk. And I think, even when you're struggling, you're finding ways on base. I think that's, crucial for the team. And then I think, I haven't really paid much attention recently over the weekend just because of my activities getting busy here where I work and stuff. But, seeing some stats about him, guys, you still there?
yep, we're
Yes.
Okay.
still here.
Seeing some stuff about when David Ortiz gets intentionally walked, Napoli's numbers from that regard, and no, I mean he's obviously, him and Lester I think are two of the MVP candidates, at least on the Sox team right now, and you throw Lackey in there and the way he's pitched, and it's heck, even Jake Peavy has pitched really well. He just doesn't have the wins to show for it. But to answer the question, yeah, I think Napoli, he's at least on track for it. I don't know if he's got an MVP type season in him, but he's at least, been the MVP of the Sox offense to this point.
Right. I was just about to go to things that you guys have seen that have been a little concerning. Ben, I'll put this question to you first.
The only concern is that they're one game above 500, and saying that, knowing that they're 2 games back of first, the concern really isn't a concern. It's more of a, hey, they're starting to find their team and find out who they are. The running into outs. Guys getting thrown out on the base pass where they're stealing or trying to take an extra base or whatever it may be. That may be the biggest concern of all, just because we saw how damaging, being a threat on the base pass was last year. And, you lose a guy that stole 50 whatever bases in Jacoby Ellsbury, and you put a rookie out there, Jackie Bradley Jr. You got a guy in Grady Sizemore that is, coming back from health. You got Dustin Pedroia, who, looks a step slower, if anything. But when it's all said and done, that may be the only concern that I have right now. I mean, we talked about this team needing to get a full healthy lineup, and now that they're pretty full and healthy, I think we're starting to see what type of team they can be. They take 2 out of 3 from Texas. They took 2 straight from Cincinnati when they were trailing in some of the games, and I'd love for this team to play the Yankees and Tampa and Baltimore and Toronto again. Just now that they're finally putting together a couple of wins here in a row, try to see what they can do against the teams in the East again.
I have some concerns about the middle relief.
Yeah,
I know Miller.
Jim, what about you? Do you have any concerns right now?
I have some concerns about the middle relief. There were a couple of blips, I guess, from Tozawa. Miller, I know, has pitched great his last couple of outings. I'm not sold on Capuano. But other than that, I agree with what Ben was saying. The team is starting to come together. I like the way Bradley is settling into the center field position, having Victorino back. This team that we saw come out of the gate in April is a lot different than the one that's on the field right now. And the team that's on the field right now, I think, is a lot closer to what we'll see as this team gets into the second half of the season and starts to go down the stretch.
Yeah. All right. So, I think recently, I think someone that's been somewhat of a pleasant surprise. I think AJ Brzezinski has been playing pretty well lately.
Good point there. Good point there.
Yeah. So, what do you guys like what you're seeing from him? Jim, start with you.
Offensively, absolutely. Defensively, I'm not sold. I think defensively he's probably a wash with Saltalamacchia, but I like what he's doing behind the plate. And, we heard how disliked he was before he came here or when he first came here. That seems to have taken care of itself. If it was a problem at all that he had with anybody in the Red Sox clubhouse, you certainly can't tell by what's been going on when he's on the field.
Yeah, Jim, what I had heard, and kind of like you said, just to touch on it, everybody talked and said, when he's on the other team, you hate him, but when he's on your team, you love him. And it kind of seems to be what's happened in our clubhouse is the guys, for whatever reason, if they had any beef with him, I don't know if anyone did or not, but they've definitely gotten over that for sure. And I agree, Jim. I think it's just a wash one way or the other with what we have with Saltalamacchia. I think the reality of the situation is the Red Sox knew this was going to be a one-year fill-in until either Christian Vasquez or Blake Swihart comes up. And, did they want to get into a 4-year deal with Saltalamacchia knowing that they had these 2 pretty decent catchers waiting in the wings? No. And, so they said, well, let's go find somebody who's roughly equivalent to what we have with Saltalamacchia, and, we'll deal with whatever it is that's not his strong point for one season, and then we've got our guys lined up right behind him. So.
And now we're on the aspects. Ryan did an interesting down on the farm piece on Blake Swihart. So who do you? Between him and Christian Vasquez, who do you like as the future catcher for the Red Sox? Ben?
That's such a tough question because both of them bring, something different to the table. I think Vasquez is the better defensive catcher. He's everything you hear about him from spring training to when he was in AA Portland to this year in AAA Pawtucket is, his arm is just unbelievable. He's throwing out guys at second, left, and right. He's picking off guys at first base. He's just got unbelievable awareness of the base paths and what's going on. Offensively, I'm not so sure about him, especially at this level. He's like 5'11", Small guy. That's where Sweetheart or Swihart, however you say his last name. I call it Sweetheart just because it sounds like sweetheart, but I'm sure he'll get some ribbing for that. Um, but Sweetheart, his offensive set is there. He's a bigger catcher. Defensively, I got to be honest, Ryan, I haven't read your piece yet. That was on my to-do list tonight. I was hoping to get to it beforehand. I don't know if you guys can tell, but I just got back in from running, so I haven't quite gotten to that yet. But I think they both bring. I think it's what they look at from those two is probably what we have right now with Ross and Pierzynski and kind of what we had last year with Ross and Saltalamacchia is just a dual platoon at catcher position, and you get one in there a couple of games and one in there another couple of games. That's what I see.
And just a quick side note, I have the link to the piece that Ryan wrote down below here. So if you want to check that out, please do. I highly encourage. It's a good piece. Now that shameless promotion is over, Jim, let's go to you. Who do you think?
Well, I can't wait to see Vasquez's arm. I've heard so much about it. I've not had a chance to see him play yet at the minor league level, but everything I've heard about his arm says that it's major league caliber. So, it's been a while since we've seen that kind of a catcher in the Red Sox organization. That's what I'm looking for from him.
Talk about the outfield now. It's a good. We have our first Twitter question from @MootsNH Graham Rigby, and he had mid-May was the deadline for Sizemore Nava choice. What do you guys think?
Jim, go ahead. I'll let you take it.
I'm concerned that we've seen Grady Sizemore's best days. I wouldn't be surprised to see him gone by mid-season. Nava, I know, had a nice little spurt a week or so ago in Pawtucket. I like him a lot. I hate to use the Captain Intangibles reference, to Jeter, but there is something that he brings to the table, whether it's a hunger as a kid who came up through an independent team or not. There's just something about it. I think Sizemore's best days, as I just said, are gone. I wouldn't be surprised at all to see Nava back and contributing after July 4th.
I pretty much agree with Jim. I don't know what Sizemore has in his bag of tricks. Not saying it hasn't worked out to this point, but do I want Sizemore, a guy that's is what he is, or do I want Nava? And at least Nava out of the two gives us a switch hitter. I think Nava's just needing that a little extra work down in Pawtucket, and he's getting it, obviously. I think, first or second game there, he hit a home run, so not that was that quick of a turnaround, but, it was a good start for him to get down there and have a positive thing happen for him. I think at the end of the day, the guy who's playing is Sizemore, and the guy who isn't right now is Mike Karp. That's the guy that I think is using a fishing term, on the hook. Karp's very limited action right now. He's coming off the bench in some key situations, not really starting at all. Yeah, I hate that for him. I'm not saying I dislike the guy. I just think he's they really believe that Jackie Bradley Jr. is the future of this team, and he's the guy that's going to get the center field position. So you got to put Victorino in right, and you got a platoon in left. Well, your platoon right now is Johnny Gomes, and is a right-handed batter, and Sizemore is the lefty. So that leaves Karp on the bench. He's not playing first, other than whenever Napoli sits. Um, that's I don't necessarily think that Sizemore is going to get traded away after a month and a half, but I think Carp is the guy that is either going to get released or traded or something. I guess it would be traded, and they'll try to get something in the farm system for him, would be my guess.
Yeah, I agree. If anything happens with Carp, he would be traded, not just released. But because of the money situation with Sizemore, I could see him being released.
Well, that's true. But they don't really go out and spend it this year, though, right? I mean.
Oh, right. I mean, in terms of bringing Nava back up.
Oh,
yeah,
right.
I would not. I mean, I don't want to say that this is a bridge year, but I like Bradley a lot. I love his arm in center field. I think he's going to hit better than what we've seen so far. But yeah, I would not go out and try and get somebody for the outfield this year, make a panic move.
Ryan, we'll put this to you. What between Sizemore and Nava right now, who would you rather have in the outfield?
I'm gonna go with Sizemore. I don't hate him out there. I think that he was a good addition. I think he's gonna be, mentoring Jackie in center. But Nava was just so inconsistent for us at the beginning of the year, and he's gone down to AAA. And I haven't really followed him down to AAA, but just how inconsistent he was with us I was not a fan of. And you never know. Like guys like that, Nava last year, it might have been a career year for him, and we're giving him we have a ton of expectations for him, and he might have just had the best year that he's gonna have.
Yeah. So let's look into our crystal balls here. But I know it's sort of hard to see like down the road. There's a lot of X factors here, but it's day one of the playoffs. Who would you guys put as your starting outfield? Start with Ryan.
My starting outfield, it's going to be Victorino in right. It's going to be Jackie Bradley Jr. in center, and it's going to be Johnny Gomes in left.
All right.
Especially if we're playing in Fenway. I think Johnny Gomes.
Connor, did you throw that to me?
Ben, what are your thoughts on that?
I agree with Ryan. Same outfield. The only difference might be if we're facing a right-handed pitcher, maybe having Sizemore in left. But also to echo Ryan, if we're at Fenway, I want Johnny Gomes' bat. He's got so much power to knock it off the monster, and you're not really losing much in the outfield in the way of him and being left field with the monster right behind him. So, mine would be from left to right: Gomes, Bradley, and Victorino.
All right, and last but not least, Jim.
I think Nava will be in the mix by then. I think Sizemore will be out. Bradley and Victorino.
Right, so just we sort of hit on this a little with Hart, but if the Red Sox are going to make a move at the trade deadline or before the trade deadline, who would they get? Who do you see them trading, and what would you try? What would be a good return value on them? I'll start with you, Jim.
Oh boy, I as you were phrasing that question, Connor, Clay Buchholz's name came into my head. I don't know. I think Carp is tradable. Bartolo Colon, by the way, is imploding right now. The Met outfield is a disaster. They can't catch the ball.
Mm-hmm.
And what was a 4-4 tie is now a 6-4 Yankee lead. We get in trouble from Major League Baseball if we do play-by-play on this?
No.
Okay, good. At any rate, Carp gone. I don't know how much they'll get for him. Again, if it's a bridge year, do you panic and get rid of a guy like Buckholz and hope you get a lot in return? Maybe this outfielder that we were talking about that I don't think they should go get. I don't
Who
know.
is that,
I
Jim?
don't know. Who are?
Jim, who's the outfielder?
I think Carp goes.
Oh, but you said who's the outfielder that they go and get?
Oh, I don't know. That's what I'm saying. I don't think they
Oh.
should go get one. But if they were to, I think that would be what they would, try and do maybe with a Buckholz.
Brian, I'll go to you. Who do you think is tradable on the Sox roster right now, and what do you think they should get for him?
I think Grady Sizemore's tradable. I figure if they trade him, the Sox will eat a bunch of his salary still, but pick up minor leaguers for him. I mean, we have an extremely deep minor leagues, and if Nava's in the mix by then there's really no need for Sizemore, especially if everyone stays healthy. So Sizemore's tradable. We'll eat a bunch of his salary, but we might pick up a prospect or two.
I don't think there's much salary to eat there.
I just feel like a lot of teams won't look at him unless the Sox say, we'll take a couple mil from him.
Well, his base salary, I think 750K.
Oh, I thought he was making more than that.
No, it's a low salary.
Oh,
I think signed him to.
I think that we can get rid of him for a prospect or two for somebody who's looking for an outfielder, especially if Nava's in the rotation at that point.
Ben, what are your thoughts on
him? I don't know. I mean, I still just have mixed feelings on a lot of stuff. I want to squash a trade rumor right now. Will Middlebrooks is not going anywhere. I've seen that, his name thrown around so much, and the fact of the matter is, unless they're getting another Will Middlebrooks to replace him at third base, I mean, Garen Cicchini is not coming up and being thrown into the same fire as what Middlebrooks just got into 2 years ago. And that's saying a lot. I love Cicchini. I think he is the third baseman of the future, but this year's just not his year. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, Carp we've talked about, but you're not getting much for him. He's just going to to get more playing time somewhere. Sizemore may be a good candidate, but I think when you bring up Nava, it's going to be a platoon between the three of them, and depending on what Nava's doing or what Gomes is doing, I don't know. Pitching wise, Buckholz is an interesting name, Jim. I don't know what clubs would be looking at him with his injury history. Obviously, when he's healthy, he's magnificent. So I don't know. I mean, Buckholz is an interesting name, but everyone freaks out like, oh, don't trade away Buckholz because Lackey is done after this year. He's 35 years old, whatever, and Lester's not declining, but he's at that age where he could start to go down, and you need someone else, a younger guy, etc. But my thing is you got Lackey and you got Lester at the top of your rotation. You've got Peavy if you want to keep him around. Dubrant's an interesting name to throw around, whether they want to get rid of him. But you look at the rotation coming up from the minor leagues, as Ryan said, which is so deep right now. Brandon Workman can be a starter. Anthony Renato, obviously. You got Alan Webster, which I don't like. Ruby De La Rosa. I mean, you start filling in 3-4 guys over the next 3-4 years, and your rotation all of a sudden is Lester and those three guys, and maybe someone like a Ryan Dempster, you go get a veteran to anchor the rotation or something. I don't know, but I don't know. I don't know what the trade is right now. It's such a interesting time of year, but just because of the way they started off so slow, everyone's like, well, this could be the year the Sox just start trading people away because they don't need them anymore. and now all of a sudden they're 2 games out and 19 and 18 back above 500, and now all of a sudden things are looking bright again.
Yeah, on the flip side of it, who should the Red Sox trade? Do you guys think the Red Sox, based on what you've seen so far, do you think they need to go out and get anyone right now? Jim, start with you.
Oh, I think it depends upon what the expectations are. At this point in the season, you look at everybody bunched in the American League East, and let's, for argument's sake, say that it's going to stay as it is. Everybody within a game or two of each other, 3 or 4 games. If nobody runs away with this, or 2 teams don't really start to pull away, only the team that wins the division is going to make the playoffs. So I think that you need to see where the Red Sox are going to be. Again, is this a bridge year? If they're not going to win and they're not going to make the wild card, do we trade a Henry Owens? Do we trade a Renato? Do we trade one of these kids on the farm for a bigger piece that can get us to the top? I don't think the wild card. I don't think a wild card team is going to come out of the East right now. So it's either win the division or go home. I don't know if the Red Sox want to mortgage what looks like a very, very.
Sorry, guys, that's me. Give me a second.
What the heck is that?
I don't know. I thought maybe it was Pete's baby. He just sent an email. He can't get the baby to go to sleep. Well, Ryan's on duty as an RA, so God only knows what's going on in that dorm.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Finals are getting close to finals time too, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. I was an RA for 2 years. I feel Ryan's pain.
Yeah.
Everything all right there, big boy?
Yeah, sorry. I'm on duty tonight with 3 people here, and the one person to call me calls and uses the one way that he doesn't know how to use the phone. And it explodes on everyone. Normally it's just a little beep beep, but instead it's a make as much noise as it possibly can.
That was awesome, by the way.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
No for the entertainment. That's great.
Yep. All right. Yeah. All right. So what do you Ben? What do you guys think as far as do the Red Sox need to go out and get anyone right now?
No. And reason being, because of what we talked about, the farm is so deep and so good. You don't want to give up that prospect and see him go elsewhere and pound everybody that he plays. Also, Jim, as much as I want this team to win, it might be good to have, for like guys like Uehara and Lester and Lackey and Peavy and some of these guys to get an off-season off where they don't have to play all the way into October. That sounds terrible coming from a diehard Sox fan, and I'm sure some of you guys are out there like, no, we need to win now, we need to repeat, and this, that, and the other. But when you look at the long-term effects that playing into October year after year, I mean, you get yourself finished in November, you have your holiday stuff going on at the end of November and into December, and then next thing you know, you're right back around in spring training in Florida, and it feels like you didn't get any time off. It starts to wear, it starts to take a toll on you, and these arms like Lester's and Lackey's and, like I said, Uehara, I don't know if he's the future or not, but these guys can use another month off, and maybe it's just the fact that we won it all last year, so I feel okay saying that. But when I think about the long-term, perspective of what I want the Red Sox to be, winning this year is not as important as winning it 3 out of 5 years. If they don't win it this year and Lackey and Lester get hurt because they pitched too long again for a second year in a row, or somebody pulls something and God forbid David Ortiz goes down in the October or something and misses another year next year, that's another wasted year. So I don't know. I think not getting somebody. Let's just see what this team does and be happy with what they do.
Yeah, I think I'm with you there, Ben. The last thing I want to see is, one of our key players, as you said, I don't want to see, we don't. I'm sure I'd, be a heck of a lot better if they didn't make another deep run. And because
And
he's late 30s, I think.
yeah, I mean, and with that said, if this team makes it to October and they go deep into the playoffs, I mean that's awesome. I'll be cheering them on right there the whole way. I don't want Dustin Pedroia to slide into first base head first and sprain his thumb again or tear a ligament or whatever the hell he did last year, and now all of a sudden he's having off-season surgery again.
Yeah.
And I don't want those lingering effects to affect the next year and the next year and the next year. So.
Yeah. Ryan, what do you think?
I agree with Ben a lot. We really don't need somebody right now, barring injury. And then even if we do, we're really deep in the system. I really like our farm system. It is one of the deepest ones out there, especially pitching-wise. I would hate to see giving up Henry Owens for somebody to help us win this year.
Agreed.
When he is going to be phenomenal in 3 or 4 years. You were saying just a couple of minutes ago, we have, maybe Alan Webster and John Lester, and you didn't even mention Henry Owens 3 or 4 years down the road. He's going to be phenomenal for this team. This farm system is just so deep that I mean, we do have the prospects everywhere. I mean, we have Mookie Betts hitting almost 400 in Double-A, but he plays second base. So do we want to give him up? Or do we want him to transition to someplace else and play somewhere else? I think you don't give him up because just we're deep everywhere, and that's the future of the team that they're trying to win with in 5-10 years. And don't give up that for this year, especially in a year that they could use a little bit more rest in the off season.
And if they could strategically give up somebody, whether that is a Ruby De La Rosa or an Alan Webster or, somebody, just one person and then a lower level prospect to get somebody to maybe try to help them win this year. Maybe we get to July 20th and we're 3 games out of first and second place in the AL East, and maybe it's Baltimore that's ahead of us or something, and we fought tooth and nail with them all year. We're sticking right there, and we just need that extra little something, that change up. It's not a bad thing to give up somebody, but I'm definitely with you, Ryan. Don't give up somebody who is the future, a Henry Owings, an Anthony Renato, a Bryce Brent, a Garen Cicchini. These guys are guys that are supposed to be here for the next 5-10 years, like you said, and we obviously thought Webster was going to be a good addition eventually. We thought Ruby De La Rosa, and they still might be. Brandon Workman looks like he could be a good addition. You said it, Henry Owings, Anthony Renato. I mean, that's 5 pitchers right there that are in Pawtucket right now I guess Owings is in Portland, but 5 pitchers right there that these guys legitimately are going to be major league pitchers in 5 years. And I'm with you. I hate to see it given up, but if you can give up one and keep the other 4 and you win big this year, it's not bad.
Dang.
Sorry, got the Bruins on the background. They're losing 3. Yeah. But
this isn't Bruins life.
Yeah,
this is Red Sox life.
But, hey, some of us like more than one sport.
I know. I'm joking.
Some of the time we get lucky and the Sox have an off day, but the Bruins don't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I growing up in the South, obviously I'm not a big hockey person. I watch it; it's fun to watch, but I never got into it. And of course, because I don't really have a team, I've adopted the Bruins as the team that I root for. But it's funny when the Bruins and Sox are playing on the same night, and my whole Twitter feed is Bruins this and Bruins that, and Subban sucks, and come on Chara and everything else, and I'm sitting here like, go Sox. Then whether they win or lose, like it seems like everybody collectively like puts a Twitter tweet up and says, now back to the Red Sox, or back to baseball, and I'm like, welcome back. Here we are.
Yep.
Yeah. Um, so we oh, Ryan, I know you've been doing a great job recently with the looking at the Red Sox prospects. And
Yeah.
is there one guy that you would highlight right now as you would as like the next face of the franchise, so to speak, like the next Dustin Pedroia or David Ortiz?
I don't really know. I think I really like Mookie Betts, the first guy that I wrote it on, but unfortunately he plays second base, and we don't need a second baseman. So I could see him playing short. I could see Xander Bogaerts playing third, and I could possibly see Will Middlebrooks playing first. That's just a crazy scenario I've thrown around in my head. I mean, that's obviously not needed right now because we have Napoli for the next 3 years. But
Yeah.
if that happened 3-4 years down the line, I think that could be really interesting. But next face of the franchise, um, I think Ruby De La Rosa is still going to be really good. I think that he's going to be a call up later this year to help out in the early run to the postseason. I think he could perform pretty well. But I mean, I think we just have a lot of really solid guys at positions that we don't need right now. I think Henry Owens is going to be a face of a franchise in 4 or 5, probably longer than that, probably like 5 or 6 years. I think he's going to just be an absolute stud as long as we don't trade him away.
Uh, all right, Jim. If you same question. Do you see a face of the next face of the Red Sox in the minor league system right now?
I think it's probably going to be one of these pitching studs that we keep hearing about. I'm pulling for Renato, if only because I know one of his cousins who's a diehard Yankee fan, and I have a bet with him that involves him wearing a Red Sox shirt to a Yankee-Red Sox game at Yankee Stadium. So,
That's great. That's great.
I keep
That would be
it's coming soon. It's coming soon. This Owens kid, Ryan, you've sold me on him. And I'm intrigued by Betts. I don't know if he has the range to play shortstop. Maybe he becomes, a year or two in a chip for a trade. Because obviously we've got Petey for a couple of more years. I think a pretty solid play before his skills start to decline. But if I had to pick somebody, I'd go with one of the pitchers.
Yeah. That's not as rangy as Drew, right?
You're not going to start on this Drew thing again, are you?
No, that's good.
Boy, old habits die hard.
Yeah. Yeah, I just couldn't resist. But Ben, what do you think? Do you have someone else, or what are your thoughts?
I mean, everybody we've mentioned is a good candidate. I'm going to stick with my guy, Garen Cicchini. Plays a prime position at third base. As much as this shouldn't have anything to do with it, and I say this with all good intentions, he's a good-looking guy. And that helps because people want to see good-looking guys. And he's got the smile, he's got the the chiseled face. He's bright young kid, and for a guy who plays third base, bats lefty, it's a little different. He's so smooth at the plate. Again, I go back to this whole he needs work on his defense thing, and I see tweets from guys like Pete Abraham and the Providence Journal guy and whatever, and they're like, Cicchini won't get called up even though Middlebrooks is hurt and struggling. He needs work on his defense. That's why he's still in AAA. Yada yada yada. And then 3 weeks later, like, oh, his defense is much improved. And I'm like, this is a guy that's made it up to AAA baseball. What much more at third base does he need to work on his defense? Okay, he can't quite barehand the slow roller and throw it across the diamond. Well, that's a tough play for anybody to make. But getting back to the point of the story, or the point of what I'm saying is, I think he's got the potential to be the guy. I mean, he's got the power to drop 30 bombs from the left side. Like I said, plays third base. I mean, you think about guys like Alex Rodriguez. Not saying to that nature, but Rodriguez and Manny Machado and some of these other guys that are faces of the franchise, so to speak, and they play that position. Chipper Jones was a great third baseman for the Atlanta Braves. So he's at a position where there's been the quote unquote face of the franchise before, and I think he's a guy that could do it.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. So obviously, let's talk a little AL East here. Like, it's pretty tight right now, I think. So who would you guys, which team do you guys think is in the best position to win the division right now? Ryan, what do you think?
Baltimore leading the division. I mean, the Yankees will probably pick up half a game. I'm not sure if Baltimore's playing right now. I just think that Baltimore's playing really solid. Looking at the rest of the division, the Yankees, if they keep it up this pace the whole year, they're going to have an extremely shocking season for everybody. I don't think everybody expects them to play this well as long as they do. The Sox have struggled. They're getting a little bit hotter as of late. So I think the Sox can overtake Boston, and Tampa's just struggling right now. I think Baltimore. Chris Davis is playing really well. They've got Adam Jones out in center. They have a good pitching staff. They have a pretty good rotation. I think that they have a good chance of holding on for a while up in the top spot.
Jim, what do you think?
Baltimore concerns me more than anybody else. I agree with Ryan on that. I think the Yankees are mirage. I think they're done. Aceves just gave up a 2-run home run, by the way. CC Sabathia is on his way to see Dr. Andrews. They're getting old. I'm not worried about the Yankees at all. I think Tampa has way too many holes in their pitching staff right now with those arm injuries. I'm not sold on Toronto. The Orioles are the team to catch, obviously. I mean, they're ahead of us, clearly, but they're the only team I'm worried about in the division right now. And if all of the pieces come together, I don't see any reason why the Red Sox can't catch them.
I agree wholeheartedly. With J.J. Hardy, Machado, Chris Davis, Wieters. I mean, I think Wieters may be injured right now, but the Orioles, when they're healthy, they're a dangerous ball club, and we all know what manager's name just tip of my tongue. Baltimore's manager. Buck Showalter. Thank you.
Yeah,
So we all know what he's capable of doing, and Jim, I'm with you. The Yankees are done. CC's done. The only thing on that team that scares me right now is Tanaka, and one pitcher doesn't do a team any good. We've seen that out in Seattle with Felix Hernandez. Toronto not sold on. Tampa's too injured, too banged up. But it brings up, the point that you made earlier, Jim, is, the way the East is right now, it's so tight that maybe two teams aren't going to even come out of it, just a division winner. Well, if three teams all of a sudden start falling off the face of the earth and the Red Sox and Baltimore start winning, beating up on those teams, you might have two teams that reach 90, 95 wins, being Baltimore and Boston. And at that point, yeah, we're going to see a team in the wild card. So, I think Baltimore, I wouldn't say it's theirs to lose, but I will say that the Red Sox definitely faced them. Well, to our credit, we weren't healthy either, but we faced them when they weren't at their full strength, and again, to back that up, they didn't face us when we were at full strength. So, it'll be interesting to see that series develop over the summer months and into the fall.
Yeah, definitely. They have a couple September series against Baltimore that should be huge, and then decidedly, it'll be if I had to choose two teams right now, it'd be us and Baltimore. Again, I agree wholeheartedly with what Jim said. I think the Yankees have too many holes to keep this up. Jeter's getting up there in age. A-Rod suspended. A-Rod, he's suspended for the whole year. And Brian Roberts is not Robinson Cano. He's nowhere near. I don't think he's at that level. So yeah, I think if it's going to be a two-horse race, it'll be us in Baltimore. So this last question, real quick. And wait, now I forgot what I was going to say. Oh well. But
I mean, going on kind of what we've talked about tonight, I think we're all optimistic. Jim, I think, what was it, 3 weeks ago or so, a month ago? I can't remember exactly when we had our last live session, but you and I were kind of on the fence of just want to see this team healthy, see what they can do. We still don't believe in the Yankees, still don't believe in this team, and so on and so forth. And here we are 3 weeks, a month later, and it's kind of come to fruition. The Yankees are getting banged up, and the Red Sox are getting healthy and showing what they can do full strength. Started having some magic come back with the last bat wins, the walk-off, and you get nearly no hit on Friday night by Yu Darvish, and everyone goes into panic mode and oh no. And then the next night they come out 11 hits, 8 runs. The next day they come out and put up more. And I think we're seeing that this team is looking more and more like what last year's team was, minus a few pieces like Ellsbury on the base paths and so forth. So rangy Drew at short.
Yeah, Mr. Rangy Drew is still out there.
No kidding.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see if and when he does sign with a team, who it'll be.
I think the Yankees really want to sign him, but I think that they would get turned on so bad from their fan base with Jeter that it's a smart business decision, yes, because he's definitely an upgrade over what Jeter is right now. But it's a bad business decision because you've got the whole farewell tour and your ticket sales are up because everyone wants to see Jeter one last time, and then you go on the road and people are doing this Jeter farewell, and then he only plays 1 or 2 games because Drew's out there, and But I think deep down inside, I think Brian Cashman is looking at Drew and saying, "I want you so bad right now, I can't get you." Thoughts? Anybody?
Yeah, from a marketing standpoint, the Yankees can't put Drew on the field at the expense of Jeter. They just can't do it.
Right.
Yeah.
Jeter's going to be there. If this team, if the Yankees fall apart in the second half the way I think they will, their ticket sales are going to plummet, and the only thing they're going to have going for them is the Captain Intangible's farewell tour.
Captain Intangibles. Nice. Ryan, any?
Connor, do we?
Sorry.
Oh, I was going to say, Connor, do we have any tweets to answer?
I have a feeling we lost Connor. I know his screen went blank for a second.
That may in fact be what it is.
Well, I
Let's
was going to
see.
ask you, Ryan, any final thoughts or wrapping up thoughts here on anything?
Yeah, I have a question for you guys.
Yep.
When do we have a bloop up be called a error again when it falls between two fielders?
When there's
Like
a new when there's a new rule,
when there's a
apparently.
new.
Well, and I'll be honest, I'm not saying I like the rule, but it does make sense. I mean, if the ball doesn't touch somebody, that doesn't mean it's not an error. I mean, balls miss infielders all the time and never touch their glove, go right between their legs. It's an error. This, to me, is a similar situation. You got two guys converging on it. Looks like one guy is camped underneath it or close to being it. You got an outfielder charging in that appears to call him off and then back off his own, and it falls. I mean, that to me it's an error. It's a mental error, but it's an error. And but I guess my problem is for baseball history, that's been a hit. So are you going to go back and look at every single bloop, like you said, that's fallen in between two people like that and now call it an error and change some batting averages? No, that's not going to happen. So why change the rule?
Yeah. I see it as a hit in every situation except for the one that it was when it was he was going for the perfect game at that point still.
True.
Yeah, I think if it had been anything other than a perfect game or a no-hitter situation, we probably wouldn't be having the conversation.
Yeah.
What else has been going on in baseball? I've been so busy at work that I've only kept up with the Sox on my phone, really, and I watch them, watch highlights and stuff like that. But is there any trending stories? I mean, I know the Brewers are still doing pretty well.
Fernandez today went on the DL.
Yeah, I saw that strained elbow. So here we go with some Tommy John news, I'm sure.
Yep. So that's the big news coming out of it today.
Yeah, Tommy John, the increase in those surgeries this year is probably, or the heightened awareness of it has probably been the biggest story of the season.
Yeah. And I guess CeCe's injury is his knee. Is that what it is? I heard fluid in his knee, Jim?
Yeah, that was the report yesterday. I understand he's going to see Dr. Andrews, so I don't know if there's anything arm-related or not.
Right. Yeah, that's an interesting, hey, he's got fluid in his knee, but he's going to see the guy who does all the Tommy John surgeries.
Right.
And shoulder surgeries and everything else, so.
Yeah.
Trying to think, are the A's still the team to beat out west?
Yeah, they're 23-15.
Okay, so we'll see them in the postseason. In the Central, I'm assuming it's Detroit.
Yep, 21-12.
Yeah,
the Baltimore. So who are the wild card teams? Not necessarily right now, but who are the 2 or 3 teams from each division? That they could fight. I mean, obviously Oakland out west, Detroit and Central, and Baltimore in the East are the leaders. But who are the 4 or 5 teams that are kind of vying for those 2 wild card spots right now? Be Boston and New York in the East.
Boston and New York in the East. Chicago has a losing record, but they're still in second in the Central. And then the Angels are 19-17, whereas actually the Angels, Seattle, and Texas are all right around 19 wins, 19 losses.
So Seattle's got 19. Okay.
Yep. Seattle's 19-18.
Wow. So they've come back because they were under 500 they were like 9-13 or something last I saw.
Yeah.
Who they've been playing, the Astros? Well, I mean, Jim, right there, we talked, even at the rate this is going, I mean, the Red Sox are 19-18, right in the thick of a second wild card. And really could be competing for the number 1 wild card spot with this record.
Yeah, they're half a game out of the wild card right now.
Right.
So.
I mean, maybe the, to use a term here, parity, maybe the parity throughout the American League is, we're going to see 3 teams pull away as division winners and then another 8 teams all within 5 games of each other for those 2 wild card spots coming to the end. Sure would make for a fun September.
That would make it really fun.
Yeah, as I said earlier, though, I'll be surprised if things stay the same. I'll be surprised if the second wild card comes out, or a wild card period comes out of the East. I just have visions of Oakland and maybe even the Angels start to pull away, or maybe Texas wakes up. I still think Kansas City might make some noise in the Central. Cleveland's underperforming this year. How long will that last? There's still a lot of questions to be answered there.
Yeah. In the summer will heat up. The bats will start to heat up all around the majors, and teams will start playing better.
Yeah, I'm finally figure network error on my computer. So yeah, I'm back. Thanks. Just hooked up my Ethernet cord, so I'm all good.
Great, just in time for us to say goodnight.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. So, just before we sign off, why don't you guys say goodbye, give them your Twitter handle. All right. So I'll start. Connor, follow me on Twitter at C_Frederick1016. Have a good night, and Game 7, I guess, for the Bruins.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, I'm Ben Whitehead. You can follow me at the Ben Whitehead, and I will be in baseball mode from here until October. Full on, full go. Minor league baseball is kicking up. So here we go.
Jim?
Jim Monahan, my Twitter handle is at Monahan21. Make sure you throw the G in on Monahan.
And last but not least, Ryan.
Ryan McLeod, Twitter handle is at Ryan McLeod15. Spell the last name MacLeod.
All right. That's all. Good night, guys. Don't take. If you're watching the Bruins, don't take it too hard. They'll come back Game 7, I think, and win it in 7. Have a good night, guys, and go Bruins, go Sox. Good night.